Moving on to our next panel discussion on AI as a driving force for e-governance and e-society transformation. Joining us on the panel are Martin Galstyan, Governor of the Central Bank of Armenia, Peter Kusek, Global Program Manager at the World Bank Group, Dario Zoric, Regional Digitalization Lead, tongue twister, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark, Andres Kut, EU4 Digital Facility Leader and EY Partner, Arturas Piliponis, EU4 Digital Facility Leader and EY Partner as well. Our moderator for this discussion will be Mr. Harmik Azarian, Head of Service Delivery and UX at the Information Systems Agency of Armenia, ISAA. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome to this panel on AI as a driving force for e-governance and e-society transformation. So just before I introduce our distinguished panelists today, I would just like to make a short introduction. So we've heard a lot today about AI being the big new thing, but a number of the speakers today have also mentioned that it was actually something that started way back before we even started to hear about it regularly, even into the 1950s and before. So the question arises, why has it become a big thing now? Why do we hear about it more? And there are many reasons, and hopefully we will explore some of those today. But the fact is that with our work that we do in transforming government services today in Armenia and around the world, the question is often asked, could we use AI for this? Could we do something with AI? And there is sometimes a silence in the room where people start to think of that answer. So today, I hope we can explore some of these topics. And it is an honor and a privilege to welcome our distinguished panel from around the world today to join us in answering this question. So I will start by presenting our panelists. First of all, Dr. Martin Galstyan, Governor of the Central Bank of Armenia. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. Mr. Andres Kut, who is the CTO of Proud Engineers from Estonia, present in the early days of the Estonian famed digital society creation. Thank you for being with us. Mr. Arturas Piliponis, who is the EU4 Digital Facility Leader and an EY Partner. Thank you for being with us today. Mr. Peter Kusek, Global Programs Manager at the World Bank Group. Thank you for being with us as well. And Mr. Dario Zoric, Regional Digitalization Lead at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining us once more. So let's start with the first question. This one is to Mr. Galstyan. So as AI continues to spread across economies and financial systems, we face both opportunities and risks. From your perspective as the Governor of the Central Bank, how is AI being leveraged in the financial industry, in its regulation, fraud detection and risk management? And what are the main challenges you see in adopting AI while maintaining the normal?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. Harmik, thank you very much. And I would like also to thank the organizers for setting up this very well-thought panel. If you would allow me, probably I'll make a step back before moving to financial industry, because I was here since morning and I was listening to people talking in the main auditorium. Very impressive. And several of them mentioned things which are probably at the heart of something we call economic prosperity in general. And the major question that we're currently asking ourselves, and we want to find the answer to, is whether AI will be a tool that would enable us to create more economic prosperity, which is evenly distributed, or it is a threat to economic prosperity and there will be a digital divide within the society and in the overall planet. So in that sense, if you think about economic prosperity, one thing that comes to your mind as an economist would be something which is called productivity. And then at the heart of the productivity from the AI perspective would be our ability as human beings to augment our capacity with AI tools. There are many economists who would argue that there will be a different environment there will be living in. There will be a next phase of industrial or post-industrial revolution. So there will be jobs eaten by AI, there will be a threat to human society, we need to think about ethics and all these things. But at the same time, many would tell you that augmentation of human capacity with AI currently possible. And that would create something which would create perpetual plateaus of economic development. Now, the second point that I would like to make is whether that type of development is conducive for inclusive economic growth, or it will be just for some, and the rest will be kind of a slavery type of things. That is very important, and I think Nubar Afeyan made a comment in the main auditorium that government should regulate that type of behavior, because technology by itself, though my colleague Armen Nurbekyan was mentioning to me that this is probably one of the few technologies that has a will. It determines and it somehow differentiates it with the others. But nevertheless, so what Nubar was saying is that government should be more attuned and more into it to regulate the things. Otherwise, if we let it flow, then the outcomes might not be nice for the entire society. Those are the things that probably I would like to leave with the audience for thought. But let me turn to what AI can do for financial industry in particular. So we feel that it's becoming a buzzword. So, I don't know, the new seeming panacea against all ills, and at the same time, doomsday evil in one. So we need to try to understand where the shortcomings are and what are the benefits of using AI. And benefits are multiple. So if you think about regulatory compliance, for example, and then if you augment compliance officers' ability with AI tools, that would give you a more efficient way of doing things than ever before. So that would be one thing. The other one would be the risk management tools used by the financial system itself. So with smart usage of AI tools, you would shorten the time and create an efficiency on trying to identify the problematic aspects of risk management. That would be the second. So if you think about heterogeneous data and meticulous control, that would be probably, from my perspective, a field that would fit in. So what the central banks should do probably from that sense, one thing is that we need to regulate, because there are different types of problems arising from AI, being it hallucinations and then things which come with that, which could basically harm consumers. But at the same time, in our interaction with the financial industry, we need to think about two things. One would be the RegTech, as we call it, the usage of tools and AI tools specifically for banks and financial institutions making their own decisions. The second thing will be the SupTech, how the central bank regulates and how the central bank regulation is dependent on what the banks do. And how do we work in terms of data flow to make our work together more efficient in purpose to provide the best possible services to our consumer base. So in that sense, to put it in a nutshell, I think there are multiple advantages in promoting AI tools, which will augment human capacity in one hand. On the other hand, there are many things that we should be cognizant of by trying to regulate and trying to bring those into reality.
Thank you, Mr. Galician, for the great answer. And you mentioned some really interesting points about inclusive growth and how AI can be regulated, which we'll touch upon in another one of the questions in just a moment. So thanks for that. Turning to Andres, so with your experience in digital transformation, and it's probably no secret, Estonia is a pioneer in this field. How do you see AI embracing already mature e-government infrastructure? So where maybe services are already 95% digital. If services already work, they're already digital, then where does AI even need to fit into this picture?
If I had a perfect answer to that question, that would be lovely. I guarantee you that. As an engineer, it is my job to be skeptical of things. And as an Estonian middle-aged engineer, I'm like triple skeptical about all things, including AI. And so my default answer would be that it is very difficult to find an actual use case for AI in public sector. The reason being that AI is nothing else, in its current incarnation, is nothing else than doing mathematics. If you think about like the Pythagorean theorem, you plug in like two sides of your triangle into an equation, and out comes the third side. AI does nothing more or nothing less. It plugs in some numbers into a very neat, very long, very complicated mathematical equation, and out pops an answer. Unfortunately, this means that AI cannot be explained. If, let's say, you have an AI that makes a decision on whether or not somebody should or should not get child support, the AI is going to say yes or no. But if you ask them why, like the AI goes, I don't know, like the math, like there's the math. Like look at the math, and that explains to you why I answered the way I did. Now, let's imagine there's a wise man, a man, specifically a man, because a woman would never do something like that, just sitting on top of the mountain, dispersing knowledge. They have usually something better to do and something more practical. Let's say there's a wise man sitting on top of a mountain who claims to be very wise, and never ever explains their statements or answers. How sensible would it be to hand over public services and public decisions to that man? Not very, I'd imagine. Like, not many public institutions would go, yes, we have found an answer to our problems, let's hand everything over to that guy over there. That's not how most public services, public governments function. But this is precisely what an AI does. So employing AI in public sector and making decisions is only a good idea if there's a very clear understanding as to what the value it is, exactly as the speaker before me said, what the economic value that is created is. Are they speeding things up? Are they being more efficient? And how does that still work after we have applied the necessary human supervision to that AI? Of course, there are tasks that are mundane, that are very simple, like analyzing large amounts of information, summarizing them, doing image detection. There are many things AI can do, but the use cases in the public sector where everything needs to be justified by the letter of law, it's very difficult to find the cases where it really not just does provide incremental benefits, but where it does transformational things. That's the main challenge in my mind, in addition to being able to actually do AI adoption sensibly, go through the innovation process, that not being able to explain itself is the main challenge in AI in public sector, in my mind.
Thanks very much, Andres, for the answer. I think many of us have had the experience nowadays where you type something into ChatGPT and you cannot really understand where the answer came from. And when you try and make this logic in your mind, it's hard to understand. Thank you for giving a word of caution on that note. So moving on to the next question. So Arturas, who as I mentioned is the EU for Digital Facility Leader and a partner at Ernst & Young. So as you will already know, and for the benefit of the audience, the European Union recently adopted the World First AI Act, setting out some risk-based rules of the game for adoption of AI in various contexts. So how do you think the AI Act and the regulation itself will affect the development and adoption of AI? And is it too early to regulate this? Or will regulation actually help spur the development of more AI solutions? What are your thoughts?
Thank you for the question, and hello everyone. It's really a pleasure to be part of such a great event. I think your question had a bit of hidden question, and from which I would like to start, and this is the question probably whether we need regulation at all for such a dynamic, innovative topic. And I'd like to start from analogy. So to ride a bicycle or to carry a pocket knife, you don't need much regulations. There are not many regulations. There are some in the countries. You need a helmet, you need probably some orange thing just for the people to see. But in general, it's rather simple. To run airlines business, whether it's plane production or the flying kind of airlines, it's bounded by super regulations, restrictions, certifications, etc. And thanks God, and even with this, the doors fall out sometimes. So the reason for that is very simple, because when you ride a bicycle, the worst it can happen, you can run into someone, so very little impact. When you operate airlines and it goes down, you hurt hundreds. And we are talking about AI, about the very powerful thing, which is getting more and more widely accessible, which can impact millions through social networks, through IoT devices and the likes. So yes, there is a need, we do need regulation as such. Now, AI is deployed at scale. And today morning, we went through a number of examples of becoming physical AI soon. So it is there, it's been for quite a while. And if you take TikTok or Facebook or Google, it appears so that they know about you, your psychological profile, more than you do yourself, and probably more than your psychologist knows if you have one. So, yeah, the regulation is better to appear sooner than later, and there are a number of good reasons for that. First, there are vulnerable groups, people who cannot comprehend and navigate in this new reality. So and overall society, health, safety, security, and human rights, of course, should be protected. Then there is a question of legal certainty of investments. This topic is very popular. Companies like NVIDIA and Microsoft are pouring billions, hundreds of billions. There are many startups who are pouring tens of millions. So to know exactly what are you investing in and whether this will be viable or not in a few years, it's very important to know. Then there is an educational aspect that we all need to understand what this AI is. And believe me, we talk about ChatGPT, but if you go down a little bit to the details, I would bet 95% do not know what it is in reality and how it works. So there are many good reasons. And if to look time-wise, AI was for a long time. It boosted several years back, and it's accelerating at an enormous speed. So it's better we deploy these instruments sooner than later. And there are, I can give you an example. We run a project, a pilot in the legal space where we negotiate and deal with different startups and LLM developers to understand how we can better do that. And the thing is that within a matter of 5-6 months, there were so many changes on their side. So the topic is evolving. So there should be some rules. And then we talking about whether it prevents or encourages innovation development. I think it's a positive thing. It sets the boundary. It brings trustworthiness. It brings this legal certainty. And of course, there are, if you look at the AI Act, it's kind of reasonable what it says. It doesn't intend to regulate technology or what researchers or what NVIDIA does. It intends to regulate what you place on the market and how it will impact society. Yeah? So the solutions are categorized into high risk, into not permitted or prohibited, and then low risk. Yeah? And then based on this ranking, there are requirements, which if to look deeper, kind of looks reasonable. And for example, scientific research discovery is allowed. Research, development, prototyping, until you place till the market, is allowed. Military, defense, national security is excluded. So kind of reasonable. Do whatever you want, but while placing on the market, make sure that there are certain rules which are followed. And then maybe last thing on the innovation. So understanding that, yes, we need to bring everyone with this wave of development. So EU, through AI Act, embeds the requirement for the regulatory sandboxes in every member state where everyone could come, experiment, test, play, and kind of position themselves better in this new reality. And then the last, and then if you look at the timing when the regulation goes into force, it's half year ahead. It was launched August 1st this year. So in a half year, you have to deal with the prohibited solutions. In a year with these general purpose AI models, in 2-3 years with the high risk models, and for the government by the end of 2030. So it's kind of reasonable, sufficient time given.
Thank you, Arturas, for that really interesting insight, especially on the point about the risk categorization and what parts are excluded and what parts we are considered less risk. It will be really interesting to see how this develops and whether it needs to be changed and when. This is something really interesting to observe. So moving on to the next question. So this one is for Mr. Kusek, Peter Kusek from the World Bank Group. So we're a bit far away, but I have a microphone, fortunately. So the World Bank plays a key role in helping nations build digital economies. And you must have seen a lot of initiatives already around the world related to this sphere. And you can make comparisons. So how do you see AI influencing economic developments in emerging markets, particularly in terms of improving public sector services and infrastructure? And could you provide any examples of any AIs that you've seen implemented, AI solutions in these regions to drive more effective governance?
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the World Bank, it's our pleasure to be part of this event. You know, a couple of days ago, when I was leaving Washington, D.C. to come here, I ordered a Tesla Uber to take me to the airport. I got in, and I asked the driver if he could engage the autopilot self-driving mode. I figured I'd be speaking at an AI conference, so I might as well have AI get me there, at least part of the way. The driver obliged. He took his foot off the pedal, his hands off the steering wheel. He pushed the button, and off we went. For the next half an hour, the car confidently accelerated or slowed down as need be, all by itself. It changed lanes on the highway. It stopped at the stop sign. And it graciously avoided pedestrians and folks on scooters. So I made it to the airport safely. And while I was very impressed, I still felt that there were multiple moments in that journey that I, as a human driver, would have handled slightly differently. So the AI did its job, but it was far from perfect. It left me in awe, but a lot of, at the same time, anxiety and stress, whether I could have full trust and full confidence in it. And I think this anecdote and my personal experience sums up well how we currently, collectively think of AI. We appreciate its benefits, but we're also apprehensive about its potential risks. From the World Bank's perspective, we see that AI is increasingly becoming an important tool in economic development in emerging markets. It is enhancing government's operational efficiency, reducing costs, and optimizing resource management. In India, the World Bank is working with the government to leverage AI and machine learning to improve public financial management. This includes using time series forecasting, predictive modeling, and cluster analysis to construct welfare indices for households. In Kenya, AI is applied in Nairobi's Smart City program to manage traffic flows more effectively, reducing congestion and improving cities' transportation. In Indonesia, AI-based early warning systems for floods and earthquakes analyze data from satellites and from sensors to provide timely alerts through mobile phones. And AI is also increasingly being used to combat corruption and enhance governance. AI-powered procurement monitoring systems are helping governments in Ukraine and in Mexico detect and prevent fraud in public tenders and in contracts. The mistake, however, that some governments make is that they chase these shiny examples of potential impact without fully appreciating that successful implementation of AI requires several key foundations and preconditions. This starts with access to high quality, diverse and labeled and context-specific data to allow the AI models to learn and to make accurate predictions. Next is robust data computing infrastructure, including powerful processing capabilities such as GPUs and cloud platforms. Many governments, like Armenia, have rightly implemented cloud-first strategies. A highly skilled workforce, including data scientists and machine learning engineers, is critical to design, develop, and deploy AI systems effectively. Yesterday, we had the privilege to visit the Tumo Center. So it's very clear Armenia is and will continue to do great on the skills side of the agenda. AI is also expected to automate various occupations, disrupting traditional economic growth models and development strategies of countries, and potentially exacerbating inequalities both within and across countries. These are imminent threats that require careful navigation. And lastly, and critically, are ethical considerations, such as ensuring fairness, transparency, and accountability. Regulatory frameworks are needed to address concerns around bias, explainability, misinformation, and the societal impact of AI. And this is where we at the World Bank have been spending considerable efforts with our client governments to ensure that the emerging AI strategies and AI policies strike the right balance between fostering and fueling innovation, but at the same time mitigating risks and ensuring safe, responsible, and ethical AI implementation. So, to conclude, AI is clearly transforming our world, and its potential to reshape development, especially in emerging markets, is path-breaking. At the same time, AI brings inherent risks and cannot be successful without the solid foundations of digital infrastructure, local AI ecosystems, and AI safeguards. So just like my Tesla Uber ride to the airport, let us make sure that our AI-powered journeys not only increase convenience and reduce time, but that these journeys are safe, responsible, that they can be trusted, and above all, that they increase our overall well-being as a society. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for that really interesting insight, especially on the experience of being in a self-driving taxi. Unfortunately, not something that I've tried here in Yerevan yet, but hopefully one day we will have it very soon. On to the last question. So this one is for Mr. Dario Zorik, who is the Regional Digitalization Lead at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Denmark. So Denmark is recognized as a world leader in digital government. And could you share some insights on how AI is being integrated into Denmark's public services, particularly enhancing citizen engagement and delivering more efficient services? Are there any specific AI-driven projects that have set any new benchmarks for digital governance in Denmark?
I have to start off by saying that it's quite positive to hear that everybody's perception of AI is to do good for people. That's the message that I hear. That's also how the day started today with the opening speech saying it should be human-centric. And in essence, I would say government services to the public was always meant to be as such. If not, it should. So even with general digitalization, it was always supposed to be with the matters of a person's life, of a citizen's life as a focus. That's how we've always tried to establish the services that are established so far. I would say AI is just a very super extension of digitization, where now it can do a lot. So with AI, you can do much better and you can do much worse. A citizen portal, for instance, in Denmark we have so-called life situations. They are, in essence, if you cut out the concept of AI, they're supposed to serve a little bit the same idea, where based on everything which you go through in life, we'll try to help you get there rather than you searching for it. Maybe you don't even know how to get there. And now with AI, it can feed all of this so much more autonomously and efficiently. It doesn't only mean that as you enter a municipality, even without AI actually, in Denmark you could enter a municipality and already based on a lot of data that we have on you, sounds bad. The people that are there to help you, they already know exactly what you need, what you came for. And now with AI, I mean, if you simplify it even down to a chatbot, you can speed up this process so much more. You don't even have to go there. We did in Denmark create a an AI strategy, and within that strategy we have a couple of core pillars. Two which are very relevant to this conversation are that the public sector must use AI to even more improve services to the citizens and hence their lives as well. The second is that it has to engage also the private sector. Because we recognized a long time ago that the private sector really has the brains and they can innovate. Now, coming out of this strategy, we have seen as well that what could be some of the benefits if you use AI. Some of the sectors where we apply this the most is the health sector, e-health, what should I call it? Telehealth. I mean, even if you make a phone call to your general practitioner with some advanced speech recognition, you could already perhaps feel out that there's a heart problem. Imagine how much faster you can speed up something where you can prevent the worst from happening. And a reflection of that, even before AI, but as we took on this direction with trying to improve a citizen's life, we had originally a few hundred municipalities. Then we cut them down to 96 or 97, I'm not sure myself now. And we're planning to cut that down even further. And that's all because of the efficiency of all of this. So AI will just make it so much simpler. In the beginning, people were afraid by cutting down the municipalities. We also cut down the amount of hospitals we had, but it didn't change how well, how fast we could service or the patients that needed care. All of that being said, I think ultimately, which has always been something that is not only my belief, but I think it should go in that direction. Even before AI, I used to say this, digitization and AI and technology and everything that goes on in a citizen's life from the government to the municipality and then whatever is needed to the citizen or a business should be happening invisibly, meaning that it should be so perfected, and AI is going to help a lot in that, that you don't, obviously, we're speaking about data protection, privacy, consent, everything naturally will be taken care of, but that it all happens for you. Because you can imagine how many things and services are popping out in today's day and age that you would probably even have to spend more time of your life on becoming digital. It should be the opposite. You should get more time for life, family, just generally yourself. So this is where I'm hoping it will go.
Dario, thank you very much for that, and it's a perfect way to round off the questions here, because everything that we do and should be for the service of citizens, and I would like to say that we learned a lot from the Danish experience in this regard, actually. So thank you for the answer. So just to summarize very, very quickly, we started with some discussions about the impact on productivity and economic productivity that could be gained or lost from AI, with a word of caution from Estonia on the use of AI. We discussed the regulatory environment and how that's constantly changing as well, and then the ethical concerns related to driving cars and using AI, and then bringing it all together for delivering effective public services. With just a couple of minutes left, does anyone on the panel have a burning point that they would like to make, or a question, or anything that you would like to add?
If I look at these excellent answers and reflect on them, I think there's one thing that shines through all of that, is that there has to be some value in it. Be it the citizen value, be it economic value, it has to be useful. And it is not about whether or not this shiny thing is colored purple or blue or yellow, which is much about what the AI discussion is about. Which brand is better for this AI, or is ChatGPT better or something than something else? It's the value, it's the usefulness, it's what problems it can solve, and what problems do we have, and what problems, do these problems even need to exist, that we are trying to solve by using AI.
This is a very unique technology that has got an agency. So it has got a will, right? But even with that, we need to approach the things in a way that humans are the last resort of decision making. Because if you come up with answers which are coming from a black box, it could be good for some instances, like Nubar was giving an example of curing a cancer. So you don't know how did that happen, but it come up with a magic formula that cures the cancer, and then you shouldn't be questioning that because it saves a lot of lives. But at the same time, in an environment which is regulated, for example, financial services and that type of things, if an agent or a bank comes up with an answer which they cannot explain to a regulator, that would create a problem. So I think human centricity in decision making should stay. It should be augmented with AI tools and capabilities, but the least thing that we should be insisting on is that the decision is made by human. And I'll give you an example. At the Central Bank of Armenia, we're not using AI for our modeling, but the modeling layering is very complex by itself. So we do huge amount of modeling in the bank. But none of our macroeconomists is allowed to say the words which sounds like model says. Model says nothing. It's humans who are saying something, trying to think through models. But it's not the models who are saying anything.
I think one thing that's dawned on me is, on this panel, we've heard from government, we've heard from industry, we've heard from academia. I represented an international organization. And it's a powerful reminder that the AI ecosystem comprises a diverse range of players and actors who all play and need to play their unique role. And it reminds me of a powerful African proverb, which says, if I go alone, I go faster. If we go together, we go farther. And to me, the analogy is so fitting because it's not just about accelerating the pace of AI-powered development, but making sure that the destination to which it takes us is the destination where we'd like to find ourselves, which is a destination that's improved well-being for all of us as a society and as a planet.
And I want to just add as well to what was said here that I concur wholeheartedly with, that just because it can be done doesn't mean it should be. We shouldn't digitize or add artificial intelligence to it or try to improve something just because we can. And I'll give you an example of what we did in Denmark a long time ago in the early 2000s. When all of this digitization started happening, we digitized I mentioned this to you just earlier, we digitized the textbooks in elementary schools. And now we've had 20 years of experience of where that has led. And we are actually now spending a lot of money buying textbooks back, physical, in libraries, in schools, because the cognitive development and everything else, social, wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, few points from my side. Working on a few AI solutions, it kind of became obvious truth. It's just proved the truth that you can do many things with AI, but if you really want to do something meaningful, breakthrough, you need subject matter expertise. If you are a startup thinking, I'll take AI technology and will do something amazing without really understanding the industry, the specifics, it probably will not work. Yeah? So AI is not an answer, it's a tool. Yeah? Then another important aspect, I'm from Lithuania, a small country as Armenia, and when we talk about English language and generative AI, it's quite advanced now. Yeah? And then you move to the local language because number of processes, documents, businesses are run in local languages, yeah? Except for some international cases. You find that the local language not necessarily is in a shape where you can deploy equally as English language solutions. And that's one of the things that need to be considered if we want to progress towards empowering the society, empowering the solutions on the ground here in the country. Yeah? And the last point maybe from me, AI costs a lot. It costs 10 times to run the prompt on ChatGPT. Depending on which source you look at, it costs 10x times than to run a search on Google. And we don't see, as a simple users, this cost. We can read that the companies have invested hundreds of billions into this topic and taking these costs, but at a certain time, this will surface. So this is probably for NVIDIA to wish they will come up with better GPUs and algorithms to make it cheaper and more sustainable for Earth. Yeah? Because not without the reasons Microsoft and Amazon are buying nuclear power plants to run their data centers.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the insights. It's been a really interesting discussion. And one admission from me as well. Of course, this entire panel and the entire question set that we had today was written by AI. And I think we had quite a good discussion based on the questions that were provided by the famous ChatGPT. So let's see, maybe next time we won't even need to be here and the AI will be having the discussion with itself. Andres, maybe you don't agree.
But the answers were provided by humans.
Yes, yes, exactly.
The questions are AI answers are from humans.
Yes, and the discomfort that I felt when putting it together was there's a big ethical question here about when you see those questions, you feel really uncomfortable, actually, because it's so realistic. Anyway, a topic for maybe a later discussion. Thank you, everyone, once again, and enjoy the rest of the day at WCIT. Thank you.
Thank you.